I have a business that was an accident. I never consciously set out to do anything I very strangely find myself doing now. I date younger men, and that was how I realized 15 years ago that when we don't talk openly and honestly about sex, porn becomes sex education by default in not a good way. I'm a naturally action-oriented person. I want to do something about this. So 14 years ago, I put up on no money a tiny clunky website at MakeLoveNotPorn.com that in its original iteration was just words. The construct was porn world versus real world. Here's what happens in the porn world, here's what really happens in the real world. I launched Make Love Not Porn at TED in 2009. I became the only TED speaker to say the words, "come on my face," on the TED stage 6 times. The talk went viral as a result, and it drove this extraordinary global response to my tiny website that I had never anticipated. Thousands of people wrote to me from every country in the world, including Denmark, pouring their hearts out, young and old, male and female, straight and gay, telling me things about their sex lives and their porn-watching habits they'd never told anyone before. And I realized I'd uncovered a huge global social issue. And so I then felt I had a responsibility to take Make Love Not Porn forwards in a way that would make it much more far-reaching, helpful, and effective. And so I turned it into a business designed to do good and make money simultaneously, which is what I think all business should be. So today, Make Love Not Porn is pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. We are the world's first and only user-generated, 100% human-curated social sex video sharing platform. So we're kind of what Facebook would be if it allowed you to socially, sexually self-express, which it clearly doesn't. The way to think about us is, if porn is the Hollywood blockbuster movie, Make Love Not Porn is the badly needed documentary. We are a unique window onto the funny, messy, loving, wonderful sex we all have in the real world. And what we are doing is we are socializing, normalizing, and destigmatizing sex, bringing it out of the shadows into the sunlight to promote consent, communication, good sexual values and behavior. We are literally sex education through real-world demonstration. And I foresaw the creator economy 14 years ago when I designed our revenue share model to democratize access to income. Our members pay to subscribe, rent, and stream social sex videos. Half the income goes to our contributors, whom we call our Make Love Not Porn stars. And Make Love Not Porn, as a unique business, has a unique capability. We have the power to change people's sexual attitudes and behavior for the better in a way that nothing else can. And we have 10 years of proof of concept. We've taught many young people that porn is not sex in the real world. We've saved countless marriages and relationships. We've inspired communications breakthroughs within couples. Parents are buying subscriptions to Make Love Not Porn because they want their teenage and 20-something children to see what happy, healthy, loving sex relationships look like. And as with any disruptive technology, use cases emerge the founder never dreamt of. We hear from survivors of rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse, who tell us that Make Love Not Porn help them reclaim their bodies. We help them feel able to be sexual again when porn is way too triggering. And it's not just from people who view our videos. We have a number of Make Love Not Porn stars who tell us that socially sharing their real-world sex in a safe space enabled them to process and heal from sexual trauma. But my tiny team and I have fought a huge battle every day for the past 14 years to keep this business alive, let alone grow it. Basically because every piece of business infrastructure other tech startups take for granted, we can't. The small print always says no adult content. And this is all pervasive. I can't get funded. I couldn't get banked. I can't put payments in place. PayPal won't work with adults. Stripe won't. We're banned from advertising anywhere. And so what I realized very quickly was that when you have a truly world-changing startup, you have to change the world to fit it, not the other way around. And so I like to say that I had to get into the Steve Jobs business of reality distortion. Because if reality won't let me build MakeLoveNotPorn the way I want to, I'm going to change reality. And what I mean by that is, 9 years ago, I deliberately began defining, pioneering, and championing my own category, Sextech. So I literally wrote the definition of Sextech. If you Google Sextech, I'm result 1 on page 1. And Sextech is any form of technology or tech venture that enhances, innovates, and disrupts in any area of human sexuality and human sexual experience. And I defined it because I needed to legitimize my own category to create a climate of receptivity amongst investors. And today, Sextech is a thing. And so I'm going to give you 4 reasons why Sextech is the next big thing in tech, and it is the next $1 trillion category in tech. Reason number 1, product market fit is a given. Sextech entrepreneurs start Sextech ventures to solve challenges and problems they encountered. And I guarantee you, whatever you want to solve in the realm of sex, whatever you start, millions, nay billions of people will want that solution. Because we are talking about the single area of universal human experience that we are all most engaged with, most fascinated by, and most fucked up about. There are dollar signs all over that shit. As well as the fact that, as Peter Thiel said in his book 0 to 1, what valuable company is nobody else building? Secrets about people are relatively underappreciated. What are people not allowed to talk about? What is forbidden or taboo? The best problems to work on are often the ones nobody else even tries to solve. We have not even begun to see what the entire landscape of sex tech could be when this sector is as welcomed, championed, and funded as every other sector in tech. The second reason sex tech is the next $1 trillion sector is because every infrastructure challenge that I encounter is a huge disruptive business opportunity itself. And I believe in building solutions to my own problems. So one of the things I'm raising funding for is to build a Stripe of sex tech. Because the first payment processor that welcomes legal, ethical, transparent sex tech ventures like mine cleans up. And by the way, that applies to the first hosting provider, the first e-commerce platform. I can tell you that lurking in infrastructure for sex tech are the unicorns of the future. Another product I want to build is an ad tech product. I and MakeLoveNotPorn are currently banned from advertising anywhere. We can't advertise on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Google. And by the way, it's not just us. This is gendered. Any female-led sexual health and wellness venture is banned from advertising as well. Menstruation, menopause, fertility ventures, they can't advertise. And the infuriating thing is, currently MakeLoveNotPorn is banned from doing paid search ads on Google. But every day, all around the world, people search for MakeLoveNotPorn without knowing that we exist. And what I mean by that is, the top organic search terms that send traffic to us are make love, not porn, real sex, not porn, video sexo na porno, Make Love Not Porn, where they don't know there's a company called that. One young man told me that he found us when he Googled porn that is not porn. He was so fed up with everything out there, wanted something different, no idea what to search for. When you Google porn that is not porn, you find Make Love Not Porn. That's how much the world wants us and knows it needs us. And the other indicator of the scale of our opportunity is, at the end of every year, Pornhub produces a year in review, where it analyzes its gigantic trove of data and identifies key trends. A few months back, Pornhub released its year in 2022 review, which identified that the #1 trend across Pornhub's massive platform is what they call reality. People are looking for real. And when that study came out, I shared the shit out of that all over social, and I said, what all of those people are looking for, although they don't know it yet, is make love, not porn. That's the opportunity. And so I want to build my own ad tech product, which will serve ads that people actively want to watch, because I'm going to open it up to all of us who are banned for advertising and enable all of us to advertise any way we want. No censorship, no holds barred. That's the opportunity for the ad tech product of the future to be a huge revenue generator. Because Rule 34 of the internet says, if it exists, there is porn of it. Gallup's rule says, if tech exists, trust me, it's redeployable as Sextech. Here's the third reason. Sextech is the next trillion-dollar category in tech. As I've been saying for decades, there is a huge amount of money to be made out of taking women seriously, especially in this sector. The most interesting things in Sextech today are coming from female founders, because we are finally owning our sexuality, finding unique ways to leverage it in business terms, because we get the enormous market that is women's needs, wants, and desires, historically deemed too embarrassing, shameful, and taboo to address in business. And by the way, tap that huge primary market, and you tap a huge secondary market of extremely happy men. And so we are designing and building the future of the internet through the female lens. And I want to give you my own personal example of how financially monumental that could be. The young white male founders of the giant tech platforms that dominate our lives today, they are not the primary targets, online or offline, of harassment, abuse, sexual assault, racism, violence, rape, revenge porn. Therefore, they did not and they do not proactively design for the prevention of any of those things on their platforms. And we see the results of that around us every single day. Those of us who are most at risk every single day, women, black people, people of color, LGBTQ, the disabled, we design safe spaces and safe experiences, but we don't get funded. And that's why you have not seen the future of the internet built and designed through the diverse lens at scale as yet. And you've not yet seen how much safer, kinder, and happier that makes the future of the internet for all of us. So at Make Love Not Porn, I designed it to be the safest place on the internet because I designed it around what everyone else should have, no one else did, human curation. There is no self-publishing of anything on Make Love Not Porn. Our curators watch every video from beginning to end, review every profile post, every video comment before we approve or reject, and we publish it. Nobody else does that. And what that means is, I've had an AI strategy at Make Love Not Porn for the past 5 years. What we deliver is HI-powered AI, human intelligence-powered artificial intelligence. And what I mean by that is, at Make Love Not Porn, we have a large video model. We have a large video model that is a unique pool of real-world sex content that is fully consensual. And out of that, I want to build an AI algorithm for consent that can be used in movie and TV making to run sex scenes through it to make sure they're consensual, can be used in criminal justice. I've no time to talk about this in detail in this relatively short keynote. But that is the power of the future of the internet through the female lens. And at MakeLoveNotPorn, we represent a $1 trillion opportunity itself, which is how to do something no one's ever done before, which is monetize sex safely. And the fourth reason Sextech is the next $1 trillion category out there is there are many, many, many investors ready to invest in Sextech. Now, you may find it odd to hear me say that, given I've told you I have challenges raising funding. Here's my own experience. And by the way, this is my unique investor finding strategy, but the principle applies to anybody currently struggling to find funding. My challenge is and always has been that I know that my investors are out there. There are a ton of them. There are a ton of them in every country in the world. There are a ton of my investors right here in Denmark, in the Nordics. But my investors are impossible to find by the usual means because they all have one thing in common. Your willingness to fund MakeLoveNotPorn is entirely a function of your personal sexual journey. It's a function of your personal lens on sex and sexuality that's been shaped by an experience of it. And obviously, I have no way to research and target for that. Especially because sex is the one area where you cannot tell from the outside what anybody thinks on the inside. The people who look like they would totally get it, don't. The people who look like complete prudes, do. And so my strategy deliberately has been, I put what I'm doing out there all the time. Across all my social channels, I do every media interview, every podcast I'm invited to, because I have to make synaptic connections happen that will attract those investors to me. Now, theoretically, this is a long, slow, painful, highly inefficient process. In practice, it does actually work. I am frankly gobsmacked at the amount of incoming investor interest I get on LinkedIn. And by the way, if you had told me 10 years ago that one day I would say to you, I'm all about LinkedIn, I would have laughed in your face. Today, I'm all about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my #1 investor lead generator. Investors reach out of the blue and say, I see you're raising funding, I'd like to talk. I'm intrigued, tell me more. And so I am talking to investors who completely get that this is where the money is. And I want to encourage any of you having challenges raising funding to do the same because you will attract your tribe to you. An important thing to understand is when I talk to those investors, I make the point that sex is obviously where there is a shit ton of money to be made. Because we all have it, we all enjoy it, it's recession-proof, and the market never ever goes away. But oh my God, the money to be made out of socially acceptable sex. Because when you do what we're doing at Make Love Not Porn, socialize all of this, you normalize people feeling really okay about publicly buying your brands and services. Publicly doing what they do with everything else, recommending, reviewing, sharing, advocating, and publicly badging themselves as brand ambassadors. That's the $1 trillion financial future I'm going after. I'm here to tell you every other big bet ever made in the history of tech pales against Sextech. And so let's make TechBBQ love, not porn. Let's make TechBBQ the tech conference where entrepreneurs start Sextech ventures, investors fund them, and together out of Denmark, we make Sextech the next $1 trillion category in tech. Thank you very much.